All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that's pretty fundamental, I think, to how we connect with others. We're going to be talking about love languages.
Yeah, love languages.
I mean, I've got to say, even just looking at the stuff you sent over to prep for this, it's got me thinking about my own relationships in new ways, like how I show up for people, how they show up for me, and how sometimes those things don't quite line up the way you'd think they would.
Right, and that's really the heart of it, isn't it? This idea that love isn't just this one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Totally.
We all have our own ways of feeling loved and appreciated, and when those ways don't match up, that's where things can get a little, complicated.
Absolutely. You could be putting in a ton of effort, really going the extra mile to show someone you care, but if it's not in the language they understand, it can be like you're not even speaking at all.
It's like talking to someone in a language they don't understand.
Exactly. And that's why we're here today, right? To unpack these 5 love languages, figure out why they matter so much, and how we can actually use this knowledge to build those stronger, healthier connections.
Exactly, yeah.
So, okay, let's start with the basics. This whole framework of the 5 love languages comes from Dr. Gary Chapman's work. And the main idea, the thing that really resonated with me, is that people communicate and experience love in these 5 distinct ways. And if you're not speaking the same language, it's easy for things to get lost in translation.
It's really fascinating, isn't it? It's like, some people are very visual learners, some are auditory. It's kind of similar with love languages. We all have our preferences for how we feel most loved.
Okay, so let's break down these 5 languages. First up, we've got words of affirmation. This is all about the power of what we say, right? Those genuine compliments, words of encouragement, just hearing I love you, or even specific praise like, I was so impressed with how you handled that.
Right. And it's not just any words, it's the sincerity behind them, the specificity. A generic good job might not land the same way as a heartfelt compliment about something specific they did that you really appreciated.
It's about making them feel seen and heard, right? Like you're really paying attention.
Exactly.
Then we've got acts of service. This is where actions really do speak louder than words. It's about showing love through those helpful deeds, like doing the dishes when someone is swamped, taking their car for an oil change, offering to help with a project, whatever it is. It's that proactive, thoughtful effort that speaks volumes.
It's that feeling of, I see you, I know you're busy, and I want to lighten your load. Those little acts of service can really make someone feel cared for.
Next up, we've got receiving gifts. Now, this one often gets a bit of a bad rap, like it's all about being materialistic, but it's not about the price tag at all, right? It's the thought behind it, the effort someone put into choosing something specifically for you.
Exactly. It's that feeling of, you were thinking of me, you went out of your way to find something you knew I'd like. That's what makes a gift meaningful, not the dollar value.
Then we've got quality time. I think this one is so huge, especially these days, with everyone constantly plugged in and distracted.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about truly being present with someone,
Yeah.
giving them your undivided attention. No phones, no multitasking, just really focusing on connecting with that person, whether it's through deep conversation, sharing an activity, whatever it is.
It's about that feeling of, you are the most important thing to me right now. I'm not rushing. I'm not distracted. I'm just here with you. And sometimes even a short amount of truly focused time can be so much more powerful than hours spent together where you're both half checked out.
Totally. And last but not least, we've got physical touch. Now, this is obviously not just about romantic intimacy. It can be hugs, holding hands, a pat on the arm, a reassuring touch on the shoulder, any form of appropriate physical affection.
Right. It's those little touches that can make someone feel safe, loved, and connected.
Now, here's where things get interesting, right? Let's say you have a couple, and one partner is constantly doing all these chores around the house, acts of service, because that's how they show love. But their partner's primary love language is words of affirmation. So even though one person feels like they're constantly showing their love, the other feels completely unappreciated because they're not hearing it.
It's a classic example of how love languages can create these disconnects in relationships. Both people are trying, both people are putting in effort, but it's like they're speaking different languages, so the message isn't getting through.
It's like all that love and effort is getting lost in translation.
Exactly. And that's why understanding these languages can be such a game changer. It helps you translate your intentions into actions that the other person actually understands and appreciates.
So how do we figure out our own love language and the languages of the people we care about? Well, there are online quizzes you can take. Dr. Chapman's website has some good ones.
Yeah, those quizzes can be a helpful starting point, but even just thinking about your own experiences can be really insightful. Like, what makes you feel truly loved and appreciated in your relationships? What kind of gestures or words really hit home for you?
And also, what do you find yourself complaining about not getting? Sometimes those frustrations could be really telling, right?
Absolutely. If you're always complaining that your partner never listens to you, maybe quality time is your love language.
And it's worth noting that these languages aren't necessarily set in stone. They can change over time. And you might even find you have different preferences in different relationships. Like how a friend shows love might be different from how a romantic partner shows love.
That's a great point. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Speaking of which, let's not forget about love languages in our friendships and family relationships. These are just as important, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone needs to feel loved and appreciated, not just romantic partners.
For example, you might have a friend who just lights up when you remember their birthday with a thoughtful gift. That's receiving gifts in a platonic context.
Or maybe you have a friend who feels most connected when you just sit down and really listen to them, without distractions. That's quality time in a friendship.
It's about being intentional and showing up in a way that resonates with each person individually.
Exactly. And it's often those small, consistent gestures that speak their language that make the biggest difference.
Okay, so we've covered the 5 languages, we understand why they matter, and how to start identifying them. Now, how do we actually put this knowledge into practice?
Well, sometimes the most straightforward approach is the best. Don't be afraid to just ask the people you care about what makes you feel most loved and appreciated.
Direct communication, right? But even if you're not quite ready for that conversation, you can still become a bit of a love language detective. Pay attention to how they express love to others, observe what makes them happy, what they seem to really value.
Become an observer of their emotional responses.
Another important piece of advice is to be willing to stretch yourself a little. Showing love in someone else's language might feel a little awkward or unfamiliar at first, especially if it's not your natural inclination.
It's like learning a new language. It takes practice and effort, but it's so worth it when you can communicate effectively with the people you care about.
And lastly, don't be afraid to check in regularly. Love languages can evolve, life circumstances change, so it's good to have those open conversations about what each person needs to feel loved and appreciated.
Those check-ins can really help keep those lines of communication open and ensure you both on the same page.
The big takeaway here is that understanding these 5 love languages can be a huge game changer in all your relationships. When you take the time to understand how someone truly feels loved, and you make an effort to show up for them in that way, it creates a deeper sense of connection, trust, and intimacy.
It's like you're speaking their emotional language, and that can make all the difference.
So here's a little challenge for you this week. Think about one person in your life who's important to you. Try to figure out what you think their primary love language might be, based on everything we've talked about. Then make a conscious effort to express your love for them in that specific way.
Even a small gesture can have a big impact when it's in the right language.
I think you'll be surprised at the positive shift you notice. And while you're at it, take some time to think about your own love language, what makes you feel truly loved and appreciated.
Self-awareness is so important in any relationship.
It's about nurturing those connections that matter to us and being mindful of how we show up for the people in our lives. But also, remember to extend that same kindness and understanding to yourself.
Relationships are a two-way street, and self-care is just as important as caring for others.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on this week. How might understanding your own love language influence the way you set boundaries in your relationships? Does knowing what fills your emotional cup make it easier to communicate your needs and make sure you're getting the love and support you need, not just to get by, but to truly thrive? It's something to ponder as you continue on this journey of understanding and expressing love.
It's an ongoing process for sure.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.